There are millions of Roblox experiences, and most of them are exactly what they claim to be, but a small number of games intentionally hide what they really are. They look normal on the surface, casual and friendly, until it slowly reveals its true genre. And today, we're looking at 6 innocent-looking Roblox games that are actually terrifying. Starting off with Fashion Diva, a game that hides its true face behind the glitz of the runway. Fashion Diva, created by Clean Mean Bean, presents itself as a colorful dress-up and runway game, but beneath the glittering lights, there's something far darker behind the curtains. As you join, you're greeted by upbeat music, bright colors, and dozens of players chatting and roaming. On the surface, it's a typical Roblox fashion show. Compete, vote, and express creativity through outfits. Rows of accessories, a glamorous stage, and players waiting to walk the runway. Everything looks normal. But after a few rounds, something feels wrong. The players move oddly. Their messages repeat, and for a game that only allows 8 players per server, there are far too many people here. Soon it becomes clear. Not everyone is real. Most are NPCs, lifeless, synchronized. Then, if you type, "Are there any bots?" into chat, everything changes as you're transported into a one-to-one copy of the game. Only this time, it's dark. You have nothing but a flashlight, stay too long, and a jump scare hits. What most players don't realize is that Fashion Diva isn't a standalone experience, because hidden within the developers' other games lies the real story behind the runway. Everything begins in Clean's Runway and Avatar Editor, a separate game by the same developer. It looks like a normal fashion studio until you spot a torn ad on the wall seeking child fashion models. Every contact slip has already been ripped off, as if someone or something already answered. And that phrase, "contact us," will reappear later, deep inside Fashion Diva. Back on the game's page, the description hides a secret, capitalized letters that spell a chilling message. "Is this working? Can you hear me?" And in the developer's Roblox group, another hidden code reads, "There are bots. Help us." Whoever is writing these is trapped, speaking through broken fragments scattered across the web. Even the badge you earn from the "Are there any bots" sequence holds a clue, a single word. Gateway. At first, no one knew what it meant, but that changed once players started digging deeper. Occasionally, one NPC says the phrase, "on the roof." Following it leads you up the buildings near the runway to a small hidden area. Inside, you'll find the same haunting face from the dark version of the game, and next to it, the words, "I need a gateway." Clicking the face makes your screen flicker, and suddenly, strange messages begin to appear. Fragments of warnings, like something inside the game is trying to communicate. Their tone grows more and more desperate, like something aware inside the code is crying out. Then perhaps the most chilling message of all, "I am the trails, I am the textures, I am the trees, I am the blocks, I am the bots, I am stuck saying the same thing." It was then everything started to piece together, realizing that whoever wrote these messages wasn't human anymore. The hidden messages, the gateway, the face, all of it leads somewhere deeper. If you're fast enough after triggering the "Are there any bots" event, the game reveals something unexpected. You were never in Fashion Diva at all. The map you've been exploring is actually from another game entirely. The ad on the wall changes, now saying "contact us at" repeatedly. Interacting with it triggers a questionnaire, a survey. It asks you if you are ready. Clicking "I'm ready," the same face suddenly flickers onto the screen, warning you one last time. You don't know what you're doing. For a moment, everything freezes, like the game itself is begging you to stop. But then the real survey begins. Each question feels wrong, too personal, too calculated. It's no longer about fashion. It's about isolation, finding those who have no one left to call. When it's over, the voice responds cheerfully. "Seems like you fit all our qualifications. You're pretty special." The screen fades to black and the voice greets you. "Welcome, welcome. It's okay. Everyone feels nervous on their first day. Here, follow." Then, the last line, and arguably the most disturbing one of all, "They should be asleep." And just like that, the screen fades to black, and you seem to be back in Fashion Diva. However, this time not as a player, but as one of them. It all spins back full circle. The game that began as a celebration of self-expression ends with the loss of identity entirely. The glamorous runway becomes a cage, and the bots you once ignored, they were the players who came before you. Fashion Diva isn't just a horror game hiding behind bright lights. It's a story about identity, control, and the dangers of losing yourself. Because in this runway, once you join the show, no one can hear you scream. Fashion Diva showed how easily a person can lose themselves, but the next game shows just how deadly the gradual decay of a person can be under fear and isolation. Before we continue with the rest of the video, I just wanted to say that my goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of this month, and it would help a lot if you could subscribe. A Roblox game created by Grugchamp, Jim's computer looks like an innocent nostalgia trip, a game styled after the early days of Roblox. You play as a man named Jim who just bought a new computer, but beneath its blocky charm lies one of the most quietly disturbing stories on the platform. Each in-game day begins the same way. Jim wakes up, checks the news, and shops online. Jim checks the news app every morning as a part of his routine. The headlines change each day, reflecting the escalation of events in Robloxia. On the first day, the headline reports the opening of a new oil refinery in Robloxia, but as the days pass, the news grows darker. Disappearances multiply. Reports mention strange smells, government cover-ups, and growing panic across the town. At first, Jim brushes it off, buying toys and burgers online, but by day 3, the tone shifts. A nameless user messages him through RoChat, warning him to prepare. Jim begins stockpiling food and water, and each night he checks his closets for safety. These routines, mundane on the surface, reflect something deeper, the gradual spiral of identity and control under fear. The closets, stockpiling, and even the constant monitoring of the news are symbols of how isolation warps perception, turning everyday actions into compulsions driven by paranoia. By day 5, the situation in Robloxia gradually becomes chaotic. Martial law is declared, soldiers patrol the streets, and the town is gripped by fear. At night, Jim is woken by his computer, where the same nameless user urges him to keep quiet and stay calm. Don't make a sound. Following the message, he checks his closets as usual, but this time the pounding knocks on the door begin. Suddenly, the TV flickers to life with the blaring emergency alert sound. Jim, cornered and trembling, pulls out a blacked out object he had purchased earlier, revealed to be a firearm. His anxiety reaches a breaking point as the insistent knocks grew louder and the emergency alert sound from the TV fills the room. In his desperation for an escape, Jim shifted his focus from the door to himself. The firearm is no longer a tool for defense. It became a symbol of desperation. The one thing meant to protect him becomes his only escape, not from the threat outside, but from the unbearable paranoia inside his own mind. Jim's story mirrors the silent battles faced by those consumed by anxiety, paranoia, and loneliness, where the mind convinces you that there's no other way out. It's not about monsters or conspiracies. It's about a person who was so afraid of what was coming that he became unable to live the life that was still around him, left feeling that the only escape is through a drastic, irreversible action. Jim's computer ends abruptly. There's no reveal, no confrontation, just the sudden finality of a choice made under unbearable pressure. The game leaves the player with questions rather than answers, and a sense of lingering dread. In the end, Jim's computer reminds us that sometimes the scariest stories aren't about what we see, but what we feel, how we perceive, and how fear, isolation, and despair can quickly consume someone until the only way out feels like the only way left. If Jim's computer showed how fear can consume a mind from the inside, our next game shows what happens when loneliness does the same, and how rejection can push someone past their breaking point. Dex's Party, a Roblox game by Bill's family, starts innocently with pastel houses and cheerful music, and in the game you follow Dex, who is preparing for his birthday. Each day he invites his neighbors, hoping someone will come, but every response is the same: silence, excuses, and rejections. With each no, Dex's mental state crumbles. The neighborhood, once friendly, feels like a stage, and he's the only actor who believes in the play. When he reaches his best friend, the only person Dex believes would surely accept his invite, Dex is met with a red flash, a hollow-eyed grin across his friend's face, and words burn across the screen. Everybody is sick of you. You are miserable. Dex wakes in his room, gasping as frantic knocks echo from the door. When he opens it, everything cuts to black. Morning comes, but the world feels emptier. A neighbor checks on him, saying Dex had appeared outside last night, screaming before collapsing. Dex brushes it off, saying it's been happening lately, before inviting him to his party. The neighbor hesitates. On evening maybe. Yes, I can. For a moment, Dex smiles. Maybe things will turn around. He goes through his day, taking out the trash, buying groceries. But even small routines feel off. As Dex approaches the counter, the cashier's face is blank and lifeless. Without warning, Dex is sent onto a long and empty road, lined with figures. Their eyes follow him as static fills the air, and distorted words echo the words that haunt him. Stupid, loser, everyone's sick of you. By the 6th day, the facade collapses completely. The cheery colors drain to gray, and Dex's thoughts begin to spill across the screen.
I realize this all now. I was never a person who gets friends or love from others. Everyone is bullying me. I was suffering for so long. It can't be endless.
Dex, in his mind, repeatedly says, I want to end this, over and over, building toward the final thought in his head. I'm gonna leave this world, but not alone. Even gestures of kindness turn bitter. That night, Dex finds a package at his door. Inside, a knife. A gift from a friend meant as a kind gesture, but after everything, it feels cruelly ironic. Something meant to be admired now reflects his pain. Even when someone finally remembered him, they handed him the means to hurt both others and himself. The next day, Dex wakes up with anticipation. His birthday has arrived, but the house feels empty, as if the walls themselves remember his loneliness. He waits. Hours slip by as he sits at his computer playing Super Jumper, trying to distract himself from the silence. Dex, now exhausted and sad that nobody came, took it upon his hands to push an invite to everyone one last time. But inside, his mind had already made the choice. A sudden goal appears on screen. Something irreversible and terrifying. On your screen, a white highlight glows over a house across the street. The first person you'll quote-unquote re-invite. You're no longer Dex, you are one of the neighbors. The knock at the door reveals him, smiling, knife in hand. The screen cuts to black, now following the same neighbor from earlier. The only one who showed Dex genuine care heads to Dex's house hoping that his party isn't over, but as he approached, he suddenly noticed an awkward smell, and as he opened the door, he's met with a gruesome scene, prompting him to puke and recoil in horror. The scene cuts to the investigation of the police on Dex's hallways painted in red, a birthday song slowed and distorted, while Dex lies motionless in his bedroom, the knife stuck in his neck. And yet, Dex opens his eyes again, this time not in his home, but in a void. A glowing crack leads to a staircase of white light. At its summit stands Inferna, the overseer of this white abyss, not with comfort, but judgment. Dex, confused, protests, I didn't mean it, I was just playing my game. I see everything, Dex. I understand you're shocked, but do you realize that part of you doesn't want to show what you've done? Open your eyes and look at the truth, Dex. And also, do you understand that there will be no good ending for you, Dex? You're watching and your corpse will slowly and painfully decay. Dex meets his punishment for his unforgivable sin, and his face twists into that same hollow grin, all the while he's pleading that he didn't mean it. It cuts to the final scene of the bad ending, a tombstone for Dexter Holmes. Alone, his good neighbor sits, the weight of absence pressing down on him. Yet, there is another path, hidden to those willing to look. If Dex follows the sound of a cat, he meets Mong, a gentle presence in a cruel world. Mong teaches that kindness is not weakness, that true friends remain, even when others turn away. If the player chooses to listen, hope returns. During the 7th and final day, instead of going on his quest to re-invite people, he's greeted by a crowd wishing him a happy birthday. Dex's party is a dark reflection of how rejection and neglect can warp perception. The world around him, neighbors, gifts, and even the streets he walks mirrors the pain he feels inside. The knife, the hollow grins, and the distorted reality are all symbols of the isolation and internalized bullying he experiences. Yet, through the hidden path, the game shows that kindness and genuine connection can still exist, even in a world that seems indifferent. Dex's story showed how heavy rejection and isolation could be, but the next game shows what happens when that struggle comes from within, where the mind becomes its own worst enemy. Happy Face, also known in-game as This Symbol, is a story-driven psychological horror experience on Roblox created on December 1st, 2023 by Zero Sponsor. The game follows Thomas, a cheery, straw-hatted Robloxian who wears a dog tag necklace. On the surface, it looks like a typical Roblox world. Bright rooms, soft music, cheerful NPCs, and nothing seems off. But as Thomas leaves his house, he mutters, "Actually, I'm starting to feel weird," and mentions getting medicine from a person named Flame Guy. And as Thomas searches for his medicine, small details start to reveal a fractured mind. NPCs' comments, cryptic messages, and hidden areas hint at something darker. Flowers behind his house act as gateways to warped versions of the town, where the colors drain, the streets empty. happy, and Thomas's cheerful demeanor gives way to sadness. The world itself mirrors his mental state, hallucinations, guilt, and trauma creeping into what once seemed safe. As the game progresses, Thomas's journey grows darker. The cheerful facade of the world gives way to glimpses of his trauma and guilt, most notably his experiences in war. Distorted landscapes and surreal hallucinations act as mirrors to his mind, showing the lingering scars of battle, the chaos, death, and helplessness he endured. One of the most disturbing symbols is the bloody red hand that appears throughout the game. It's not just a grotesque detail, it represents Thomas's ultimate moral and emotional breaking point, which is reinforced by the haunting voice of the rainbow figure, his fallen friend, who pleads, it hurts so much, Thomas, please make it stop. I can't take this, please end it all. Why won't you listen?" These words linger as Thomas navigates increasingly twisted environments, each one reflecting his guilt and mental deterioration. In confusing nightmare, the game even forces him to confront the horrors of war. You fought for freedom, now rot in peace. Dead bodies litter the ground, floating deformed faces scream silently, and two towering figures loom over a pile of burning corpses. This isn't just a random representation, it's a mirror of his PTSD, moral injury, and survivor's guilt. Later in the world Stop, players can witness a haunting wartime flashback, Thomas performing an extreme action he took to survive, shown through the imagery of the red hand. The game presents this moment, leaving players to absorb the immense weight of his trauma and the guilt he carries. In the void of distress, shadowy figures, which stand as distorted representations of his friends, try to help, but Thomas, overwhelmed by grief and trauma, cannot recognize them. "You're not supposed to be here. What do you want from me? I'm scared. Leave me alone. I don't want to hurt anyone. Why can't I remember?" After navigating fractured worlds of guilt, hallucination, and trauma, Thomas finally reaches "We Forgive You," a calm space of white flowers and gentle light. Friends, family, and the rainbow figure surround him, offering silent support. Thomas embraces the rainbow figure, symbolizing the trauma he carried and the friend he lost. The world doesn't erase his past, it acknowledges it, allowing him to reflect, accept, and begin healing. After walking through the glowing hallway of "We Forgive You," Thomas finally reaches a moment of peace, surrounded by the people he's lost, the memories he buried, and the rainbow figure who represents the friends he couldn't save. And while it felt like closure, it isn't the end. The next thing we see is in another dream world. It's Thomas in reality. He wakes up on the couch of his home, violently shaking. The bright fantasy is gone. Instead, we see the real faces of the people who care about him, panicked, trying to keep him conscious. Thomas isn't exploring another hallucination. He's overdosing, eyes half shut, drifting in and out as someone calls for an ambulance. The final scene shifts to a quiet hospital view, and for the first time, we're not playing as Thomas, we're playing as ourselves. At the end of the hospital hallway, you can see Thomas in a bed surrounded by his loved ones. The rainbow figure stands nearby, a comforting presence rather than a hallucination. It's a moment of reflection, the journey through trauma and guilt, and the hallucination has finally ended, leaving Thomas in a space of recovery and forgiveness. Thomas's story was about facing inner demons, but our next game explores the emptiness of loss and what happens when it takes hold. Let Him Go, a Roblox game created by the group Amisita Devs, follows Broken Spawn, a grieving Robloxian struggling to cope with the loss of his lifelong friend, Fire Ring. Every morning follows, the same routine, the same silence, the same memories, and the same realization that nothing has changed. As Broken Spawn, you walk through the quiet neighborhood, inspecting areas and reliving fragments of the past, moments that once brought him joy, now hollow echoes of what used to be. But after a while, he begins to feel unwell, a creeping sense of anxiety and unease that drives him back to his home, as if something is calling him to rest. But what seemed like simple exhaustion turns into something darker. When Broken Spawn finally gives in to rest, his dreams twist the warmth of memory into a nightmare, one that feels too real and too painful to wake up from. As Broken Spawn dreams, he finds himself in various places with Fire Ring appearing at a distance, but this is not the friend he remembers. Fire Ring acts cold, distant, and dismissive, telling Spawn to move on, that their connection is over. Each night, these dreams grow heavier. Fire Ring's words echo inside Broken Spawn's mind, showing how grief can twist memories into something unrecognizable. And then comes the third and final nightmare. Broken Spawn stands before a door. Behind it, Fire Ring's voice calls out, offering reconciliation. If Broken Spawn opens it, Fire Ring greets him with a hug, saying, God, I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to. I will never leave you again. And for a brief moment, it feels real, a tender reunion between two friends finally reconciling. But then, Fire Ring goes silent and whispers, "You're too naive if you think it's true." That moment, the embrace, the apology, and the sudden betrayal. It's a reflection of grief's cruel illusion, the hope that maybe, just maybe, things could go back to how they were. From here, the game diverges into two possible endings. In the bad ending, Broken Spawn walks with a manic smile, wanders outside, and stands on the road until a car strikes him. Fire Ring witnesses the scene, collapsing to his knees, a dark reminder of the dangers of clinging too tightly to grief. In the good ending, Broken Spawn is guided by Nun Texture, a comforting presence hiding within the nightmares. This gives you the choice to ignore the door and accept Fire Ring's absence. And this time, Broken Spawn wakes with clarity rather than mania, stepping into the world with the chance to move forward. The door was never a way back to the past, but a test of acceptance, and Let Him Go turns that moment into a symbol of grief itself, the desperate longing to hold on to what's already gone, and the pain that comes when we can't. While Let Him Go explored the impact of loss, the next game shows what happens when fear becomes a passenger in your mind, following you no matter where you go. Kyru's Island, a Roblox game created by Kyru, seems like a place where players can chat, explore, and interact with NPCs scattered around a sunny tropical map. It acts like a lighthearted social space, a simple experience different from the unending action and chaos of other Roblox games. However, the more you talk to the NPCs, the clearer it becomes that this isn't just a casual social game. Some mention a missing person named Patrick, hinting at deeper problems on the island. Some warn of dangerous areas and off-limits spots, and then there's the invisible bridge, a place tied to past disappearances. And the moment you fall off the invisible bridge, the lighthearted atmosphere is gone. The camera locks into first person, the cheerful colors fade into cold concrete and metal. You're no longer on an island, you're inside a maze-like facility surrounded by flickering lights and old equipment. Then the sound of heavy footsteps echoes through the halls. A black entity stalks the corridors, hunting you. To escape the facility, you're forced into a tense game of survival where each and every turn risks alerting the entity patrolling the halls. To progress, you need to find fuel canisters and power up a generator, all while staying hidden in lockers when the creature draws near. The process feels slow and suffocating, as if the game is deliberately testing your patience, fear, and willingness to continue. Dying doesn't send you back to a checkpoint. Instead, getting caught means starting over, almost like the game is watching how far you'll go before quitting. After powering the generator and entering the correct code, you reach the escape door. As you ascend the stairs, you enter a white blinding light, and suddenly you're awakened, not on the island, but in a pod within a laboratory. As you walk out, a voice, colored in red, echoes through your mind. "I'm still in your mind. Do you know that? You can't make all of those terrible memories go away. Unfortunately, I can't kill you here, but trust me, if I had the chance to, I already would have done so." You navigate the facility and encounter Professor Josepher, who appears concerned and attempts to reassure you. He asks how the playtesting went, notices your distress, and offers guidance and support, though his words carry a detachment that emphasizes the controlled, experimental nature of the environment. Eventually, you face a choice: escape or surrender to despair. Choosing to escape sends you through the vents, where you glimpse documents revealing HIM, a viral entity infecting the playtest. You flee the lab, but HIM remains in your mind forever until the day you die. Choosing to give in, however, leads to a grim, fatal outcome. You allow HIM to consume you, and the cycle continues, with new playtesters unknowingly stepping into the same trap. Kyru's Island isn't just a regular bait-and-switch horror game. It's an experience of how a game mirrors the mind itself, curiosity leading to risk, trust turning into vulnerability, and comfort turning into fear. The island's bright social spaces and friendly NPCs create a false sense of safety, while warnings of danger pull players toward the unknown, showing how the mind lures itself into its own anxieties. When the game presents you with the final choice between fighting for freedom or surrendering to despair, it forces a confrontation against forces beyond your control, showing that some experiences leave permanent marks and that the cycle of fear can extend far beyond the game itself.